I'm pretty excited. There's something that gets me going. It's compost, soil health. This has become my new passion. My wife calls it my pornography addiction. She says every time she picks up a computer, it has something about compost, soil health on it, cover crops, every time. And she says, I'm so sick and tired of this. She said, you need a therapist, which maybe I do, because I'm pretty excited about it. It's way cool stuff. So some of this is from a presentation I did a few years back, but I am a fifth-generation farmer of conventional tillage. We've done that years and years and years. That's all I was taught. My father taught me all these things. That's all they knew. His grandfather taught him. That's what we did. Conventional tillage. Look at the soil. It makes me sick when I think of what we did to the soil back then. This is our operation. I'm in Sanpete County. This is my home place. We weren't very smart, and we bought another one in Levan and Juab County a few years back when the prices were good, and it's been terrible ever since then. What we do, when we were in 2009, our backs were against the wall. It was a terrible dairy year, and so we felt like if we're going to survive, we're going to have to grow more of our own forages. So we went into a double crop system where we would harvest our corn off, we'd come right back into it and plant a three-way mix, and we'd harvest that off in the spring, come right back into corn. So it was double crop system. It doubled our yields, a little bit harder on the soil, but it's made us be able to sustain ourselves a lot better. So hopefully we're pulling it off by June 1st. The three ways coming off by that. We're averaging like 5 tons of dry matter coming off that per acre. And then we want to have the corn harvested off by October and planted right back into a three-way mix. The soil's, honestly, the soil, we don't ever want to have we want the planting tractor in this field the same day the chopper is. So we're moving from one to another one. Here we're strip tilling. We're putting it in. What is it? A cover crop that we worked it in there. We think that was a great move for us. The first time when we did this, the soil was so cloddy and nasty, we had to come back in with a little tiller a roller to smash down the dirt clods. We don't do that anymore, no, because the soil's conditioned so much. So here's one of the machines that we were using, the strip till. Sorry, I'm going so fast because I got so much and I'm so excited about this. So a lot of times the guys, when they're strip tilling, this is from the planter. He's looking at the strip till. They just take pictures of each other because they don't have anything to do. They're on GPS. They're just driving around like, hey, I'm passing you again. They pass it back and forth. So one of the things that's tough is we're harvesting off all the forage we can. So we're taking off the corn. We're taking off the three-way. And we recognize we needed to build the organic matter in the soil. How am I going to do that when I'm harvesting everything off? We recognize it's tough on the soil, but what are we going to do? We got to do something different. We bought a no-till deal like this smaller one here on the lower right-hand corner and liked it so much that we traded it in and bought a bigger one. We love it so dang much that it's crazy to us what we do. We love it. We're absolute 100% no-tillers. We never want to till the soil. We look at the soil significantly differently now than we used to. It used to be just a growing medium, and now it's a living, breathing. It's like a creature we got to take care of, and we got to nourish it and feed that. So here again, he's planting. You can kind of see the rows where he's going. He's all GPS. You can say they're harvesting back and forth. This is my sexy photo. And when I look at this picture, I see how sexy that is. I look at that. I can look at those pictures, and I can see there's the corn stalks we're not tilling them. We're just knocking them down. We're planting right back into them. If you look close enough, you can see some three-way stubble from the previous spring that we've got in there. So we're starting to build some of that organic matter and some of that armor on the soil. This is in June 1st. And if you look at those yields, the one on the left is from this year. We were late because of storms kept us out of the fields. So June 1st, we're massive, massive crops we're pulling off the fields with very little inputs. Not a lot of fertilizer. The seed's pretty cheap. You only have to water it about once, and you're there. Look at that crop that we're leaving there. You can still, if you look close, you can see some corn stalks, some corn stubble, and some three-way stubble from the previous year as well. We do cover crops every year. We do 50 to 100 acres of cover crops. We like that. It's a lot of fun for us. We just enjoy it. We know it's helping the soil. Some of the fun things we had with that. Here's something unique to us this year. We had a fire that started off to the side of our field this year, of a cornfield, a growing cornfield, and it burned through the cornfield. A growing, active cornfield that burned through the center of it. There's a water truck in the back putting out the fire, driving through the cornfield. That was a wow for us. And here, as you can see, as it burned through the field. I would have never thought that we would have a fire through a growing cornfield, but that's what it did. Kind of unique for us this year. Okay, now we're into the good stuff. Okay, we used to just spread manure out in our fields, and we'd till it in, we'd work it in, and we thought that was great, that was okay, until one year our manure spreader broke, and so we were taking our dump trucks out, and we were just dumping it, and then we'd spread it around with scrapers or loaders or levelers, whatever we could, and we noticed that after that, it would kill that area wherever we dumped the manure. It killed that area, and it was always a dead spot. It took years and years and years for that to get back to health. When me and my wife first got married, she says, I need compost, and I says, go to the store, and she says, nope, we're going to make it. So we started making compost because I didn't know how to tell her no, and that's how we started about 25 years ago. And what we did was we took a pile of manure, and we took it out in the corner of a field that I wasn't using, and we took my loader, and I piled it up, moved it. We added water. Yeah, it didn't really turn out very good, but she thought it was okay, and so we started getting it better and better and better. And then she started telling about her neighbors, and her friends started coming and asking me about it. I'm like, you can't do this, we can't do that. So we decided that we were going to do something different. When we went to the no-till system, we couldn't use the manure like that anymore. It didn't work for us. And so we started hiring it done. There was some big outfits that were in Delta, in the Delta area, dairies over there. And they'd bring their great big $500,000 machines in there, these great big scarabs. They're 500 horsepower. They'd straddle the rows. We'd lay it out in rows. And they'd come in there and they'd just start spinning that thing just as fast as they could. They'd throw it and they'd walk through those rows. One of them had tracks on its side. One of them had tires on its side. And they would just plow through that thing and just power through it just as hard and as fast as they could do it. Well, the bummer deal about this was that we ended up giving them the compost and had to buy it back for ourselves. This was ridiculous. So when we wanted it, we had to buy it back to spread on our fields. And then the deal was that they would take the excess and they would sell it, and that's how they'd make money. But that was kind of annoying to us. So we did all the work, and then they got profit of it, and we had to buy it back. After that, we went to a pull-type machine that we like this one. And this guy, we did him for about 5 or 6 years. And so that's around 150 horsepower tractor. He's spinning around there, and he burns around 30 to 40 gallons of fuel a day, sometimes 50 gallons of fuel if he goes a long time. So way, way, way more efficient to do that. It's cheaper to run that type of machine. And the problem with this one is that he was slower to get through the rows, and he would drive it around, and he was doing too many acres. He was doing too many farms. He was struggling to get back to us in a timely manner, so we decided this is ridiculous. We're going to buy our own. And so we did buy our own. We used to hire him for around $80 to $100 an hour to come and turn that for us. But we needed a better product, just like every farmer out there wants to do something better. So we bought, this is actually my machine. That's my second machine that I've owned. The first one was around $60,000, and the next one was around $50,000 because I found it at an auction. What we did was we took an existing tractor that we had. That tractor was one that we were using on the farm, and we added a creeper gear to it. We took it to the dealer, and for around $10,000, he put a creeper gear in it, so it goes super, super slow, just like you can get out and walk circles around it all day long. So we did that. We had to have a water tanker. One of the things about, I think, making good compost is you really have got to add water to it or manage the moisture that's in compost. You can't just put it out there and hope it's going to be okay. It doesn't really work that way very well. And then, of course, once we did that, then we bought our own compost spreader as well. One of the challenging things for us is now that we have 2 dairies is we got to manage this, and we got to get it through 2 operations in the summer. So it goes to my sister dairy for April, May, and June. It gets to turn, and I turn in July, August, and September. That's the ideal situation. It doesn't always happen that way, so sometimes it takes us longer to do that, but that's what we do. The manure that I get is more of a slurry. So we'll build a kind of a berm. If you can see a dam or a berm area down there, and then when it sits and it dries out, I can't get mine to dry out before about July 1st. So it takes me that long. So, of course, this is pretty much what we do all winter long, is we haul manure and manure and manure. It just seems like it's like the mail. It never goes away. Bills keep coming back. So does the mail keep the manure keep coming back. When we turn it, we like as big as roll as we can get because it helps it to keep its moisture, and it holds that moisture. But if you, so on our second turn through it, we will add some microbes to it. We think it makes a difference to add the microbes as it spreads, and it just makes it more uniform. It kind of hides your mistakes. If you get a dry spot or you get a wet spot, it kind of blends it. Not necessary, we've been told, but we do it anyway. One of the big things for us is we watch our temperatures. We monitor that often. So once we start turning compost, we almost have a guy there almost every day because it keeps him going, and we're watching temperatures. And when it gets cold, we know to turn it, unless it's getting towards the end and it's finishing. Then you can, it's going to cool down. We would move some of the drier material on the ends to the wetter spots with the loader. We'll change that back and forth to make a more uniform product. We try to turn more often at the beginning, and then we can slow down towards the end, and it seems to make it turn faster for us if we turn it more often in the beginning. One of the things that we like about this turner is that it's geared so slowly. So this tractor is basically idling. It's run around 12 to 1,500 RPMs, and so it really doesn't burn very much. When you make compost, you really want to be able to just lift it just as gently as you can and throw it up and put air onto the particles. It's going to give off carbon dioxide, and it's going to need, the bacteria need oxygen. So notice we don't have any screens, nothing blocking that tunnel underneath there. We want the air to flow through there to oxygenate all the microbes and all the particles we can. That's an important thing to us to be able to do that. And that's really tough to do with just a front end loader. Tough to aerate all those things and to feed the microbes. It usually takes us about 3 months. If we get right on it, we can get done pretty much with our turning in 3 months, but then it needs to sit. The longer it sits, the better it is almost for us. So we keep a row or two for almost a year when we have to sell to the public, so they get it and it looks just perfect. But for us, like I said, it takes us about 6 months, and then we're in good product. We started making such a good product that Scott's Miracle-Gro come and searched us out, and we had a contract with them for several years where they would come and buy our compost, take it to a plant in Lehigh. They would blend it, put it in 40-pound bags, and they'd sell it to the Walmarts and Home Depots and Lowe's and all those things. So any of them that was going into the state in the last, 5 years, well, we quit doing it about 5 years ago. So before that came from our dairy. We supplied them. Lessons that we've learned from doing it: moisture is super critical. You can't use lagoon water to water it. That doesn't work out. It's usually got too much salt in it, and it's a problem. Another problem we didn't think about was we started selling it to the public, $50 for a pickup truck load, and we can't get them to stop coming. They won't go away. And they always show up. You'll be pouring cement, and they'll show up and say, hey, I need a load of compost. I'm like, but they love it so much. People come. We have people come from Las Vegas that stop and get it. We have people come from Salt Lake all the time. It's a pretty good journey for them. 150 miles trip to come and get compost is not uncommon for them to do that. So if you're going to sell it, you better be committed to it, because it's hard to make them stop. Okay. Now I'm not really a slow learner, and I'm not really a fast learner. I'd say I'm more of like a half-fast learner. So even being a half-fast learner, I know that the benefits of compost are really incredible to me. You know what? It's one of the funnest things that we do is make compost. And really, in my mind, it's the only purpose of having a dairy is making compost. There's no other benefit really in my mind. If you're going to have a dairy, you've got to be making compost, or you're just totally wasting your time, because you're not making money at it, and it just takes all your time anyway. So you better have some fun making some compost. It's easy to make. A lot of times people will tell you, if you got to make it really good, you got to get your C&N ratios right, and you got to add a bunch of carbon and a bunch of bedding and stuff. Yeah, you can. You can make it better with that, but you don't have to. You can still make really high-quality compost just by dairy manure. It's easy for us to move. We have 2 dairies, and they're 18 miles apart, so we will truck it frequently. We'll put it in a big belt trailer, truck it from one dairy to the other one. It's about half the volume of manure. When I can spread 8 ton to the acre on a field and get the same benefit I would if I was doing 25 ton to the acre, yeah, I want compost. And I don't have to work it into the ground. I don't have to till it. I love saving my soil and taking care of it. It's easy to store. You guys know that manure is classified as a hazardous waste. Well, you can't store very much hazardous waste on your farm without being in trouble. So you've got to, compost you can store as much as you want, as long as you want. There's no rules about how much you can store with that. So we'll pile it up, we'll move it around, but it's easier and it gets better with time usually. It doesn't seem to attract the weeds like manure does. You leave manure very long and the weeds just grow like crazy. Compost, it doesn't do that. It's very nice and easy to spread. We love how uniform it makes it. That was a picture I pulled off the internet and it didn't work very good. But if you look at this guy is my neighbor down the road and he's got manure in there. So he's spreading manure, he does pumpkins, so he's loading this stuff up with manure. So 25, 30 tons of the acre, pretty common. They've got to go in there and rip that up, till it, work it into the soil. How many passes are they going to have to take to get that worked into the soil? And the damage that they're doing to the soil and to incorporate that just makes me super sad. I'm sad because we did that for so many years and just didn't know better. We didn't know how much better we could be. Look at the tracks that he's leaving in there. Our winters are different now than they used to be. It's harder to find time when the ground's frozen for very long. So for us, we can throw compost anytime we want. If you take off a crop of alfalfa, cut it, let's throw compost. You know what? The chopper's going over here, let's get the compost spreader right behind it. If we got a guy doing it, we're going to throw it. You know what? We didn't get it done. Maybe we can get it out there in the wintertime and we can throw it in the winter. Here's from a few weeks ago. We were loading it. We're moving it in the wintertime when we have more time to be able to do that. Easy to put it in trucks, easy to move it around. We were spreading a few weeks ago. This is us in one of our fields. Look how uniform and completely even that is. So underneath that field, he's got some three-way that's planted, and he's just fertilizing it. He's sowing out the compost. And we know from what Earl said earlier, 25 years, he doubled the produce that came off that, the yields off of that, for one application in 25 years. That's cool. And we're doing this every single year. We love it. This is a picture yesterday. So it's hard to see, but that field has had compost spread on it. This is my one in Fayette. You can't see it very good, but there are my three-ways coming up. It's about 2 inches tall. I'm not a very good photographer, but you can see the corn stubble knocked down. You can see the three-way from the spring. And, of course, another three-way is coming back up. Like I said, easy to move, easy to get around. And, of course, for us, we don't have the option of being able to incorporate livestock into our operation to get the total soil health principles. If you ever seen a dairy cow go out and pasture, they stand up in the morning and they start walking, and they don't stop walking until nighttime comes. They walk all day long, and that's just their habit. I don't know. So for us, we can do that. We can add that to it. I'm not done yet. There's still a bunch more for me. We still have problems. Life's not always a dream. We still have kids that get stuck, and these are my boys. Hopefully they'll come back. Hopefully they've absorbed enough manure and dirt in their system that they can't get it out and they'll have to come back. But some days it's really like a dream. We love what we're doing. It's very fun for us. And there's my family. Okay, so there's still a bit more. We love that we have the micro and the macro and the micronutrients that compost gives us. So on my fields and all my tests, the only thing I need is nitrogen. We put out some sulfur with it as well to help buffer their pH, but how cool is that I don't have to put out any phosphates, any potassium, anything else? All I have to do is put out some nitrogen. It helps us that we don't have weeds. The compost, if we do it right, it kills off the weed seeds, and it makes it better that way. It's improved our soil structure. We have a field, and this makes me kind of sick to think about, but we had an 80-acre field when we started to no-till. We put it right into alfalfa. It was worked on a rotation. It sit in alfalfa for about 5 years. Then we went into our corn three-way rotation. Well, the pot guts moved in there, and they were rabid. They were horrible. You could go out there and sit there all day long and shoot pot guts just all day long, and it was a great entertainment for us. We liked that, but pot guts weren't so bad. We could deal with pot guts, but behind the pot guts come badgers, and badgers leave massive, massive holes in the field. It's just sickening, and we thought of ways we do. We took levelers in there and tried to smooth it down without tilling the soil. We took rubber-tired scrapers. We took one of those limited till things, and they still wouldn't knock down the gopher or the badger holes. So we were sick to it. We thought, we're going to have to till this. We have no choice. We can't get rid of these badger holes. They're deep down. They'd cave in. It just caused this enormous amount of problems, and it made me sick to my stomach. What do I do? What do I do? We thought, you know what, we struggled in the fall of 18, we couldn't get on the fields at a timely manner, and then the rains and stuff come to us, and we ended up packing the soils. We know it, we didn't have any choice. We got froze. We were coming in there with 80,000-pound trucks. It made us sick to our stomach. It was bad. What are we going to do? Same thing happened in the spring of 19. We had the rains come in, and we couldn't get off our feet. We couldn't get the crops off, and we were pushing, and our backs were against the wall. Here we are back again, 80,000-pound trucks across this field. I'm like, all right, there's got to be compaction in there. We're going to go in there and rip it and see what happens. We did it, and it's the most mellow soil I've ever had in my life. No clods, no clumps, no boulders, none of that stuff is in there. It just made me reaffirm what we've been taught, what we've been shown. We don't need to till anymore. And we won't do it again unless it's for a reason like that. And hopefully we've killed all the badgers and the pot guts and they're moved on. So that, it makes our soil better. We don't have those big clumps. It brings a lot of water holding capacity. Compost will hold 7 times its weight in water. And that's one of the things we love about it. We know that we're using less water. We don't have the erosion. Water doesn't run off our fields. Our goal is to never have water leave our fields unless it's through a plant. It doesn't evaporate. It doesn't run off. It has to go through a plant to get off our fields. We know that compost binds to heavy metals. You know, Charlie Hansen over in the basin, he does a lot of oil well reclamation stuff. He uses compost to do that. We love that it does the humus and the organic matter that it adds to the soil. We know that we have healthier soil, and when we have healthier soil, we have healthier plants. I was at a Pioneer Growing meeting 2 weeks ago in Levan, and the guys that there were cussing me, and they said, look, we didn't have these stupid spiders in our corn until you guys came in and started planting all this corn. And I said, wow, that's interesting, because I haven't sprayed a pesticide in 10 years, not one. And they're all like, well, we have all these spiders. I'm like, I don't. It doesn't happen in my fields. Healthier soils, healthier plants. Not one single pesticide. We don't do it. We don't need to. What I love so much is that I'm learning every day about, it's like I stepped out of a dark cave into the bright sunlight when I start to recognize what is in the soil. And the microorganisms and life that's in the soil, that has been a life-changing to me. When I study about how bacteria communicates with each other and how that needs fungi to grow the roots and how much better it is going to be for the soil, the mycorrhizae, all those fungi in there. There's a synergy. If you take these 2 big old Belgian draft horses, those are some of the strongest horses in the world. If you have one by itself, it can pull about 8,000 pounds very easily. That's pretty common for it to pull 8,000 pounds. You would think if you put 2 of them together, they're going to pull, obviously, 16,000 pounds. One could pull 8, 2 could pull 16. That's not the case. If you hook them together, it's not uncommon for them to pull 30,000 pounds. Not uncommon. I think, and I see it in my fields, when you add compost to this rotation, there is a synergistic effect that happens when you're feeding that life in the soil that is huge. Huge. Just like when Earl was talking about the experiment they did out at Blue Creek in 1994, there was another similar one that happened in California at UC Davis, and I just researched this one a little while ago, where they saw the exact same effects. When they added livestock or compost to the field, they saw a net gain in carbon. Whereas if they didn't, and they just used a cover crop alone, they lost carbon in the soil. That was interesting to me. And it was interesting that Earl pointed that out, that it happened as well at Blue Creek as well. I didn't realize that. But to me, the benefits of compost are just awesome. I absolutely love it. We no longer sell it. We feel like it's way too valuable to us to be transporting it off farm, and we have enough acres now that we can consume it all. And but I'm absolutely all about compost. I love it. I want to do a better job. I like building it. I like spreading it. I like feeding the soil. And that's my thing.